whatever you wish. Ramin is the
Ramin.
correct pronunciation, actually.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
And what about yours? Is it Divinia, Divina,
Davina.
Divina, Divina?
Exactly.
The stress is on the actually second syllable.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Divina. You know, your name reminds me of a masterpiece by Dante, Divina Commedia in Italian. Is that right? It means divine.
Divine, exactly. I love that. Sure, sure. No, to be honest, yeah, divine. Yeah, that's the kind of connection in the meaning. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Uh, is it clear? I mean, the picture and voice, my voice and picture, is everything all
I can
right?
see you perfectly, perfectly, and I can
Okay.
hear you perfectly. Sometimes my iPods are acting up and really, being funny, but today they're fine. So if something happens, I'll
Okay.
let you know. So,
So
okay,
thank
hi
God.
everyone. There are a lot of people joining.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're waiting for more people to join us.
Oh, okay, I see. So I actually educated myself on this 30-minute difference, but can you give me more explanation, more, why is it so? Why do we have this 30 minutes discrepancy in between our time zones?
I don't know. So uh, you probably live in. Excuse me. I want to ask you whether you're living in Southern Ireland or Northern Ireland.
The Republic, Southern, yes, Republic.
So
We
Southern
do
Ireland.
not belong to the United Kingdom. Yes, we're a
Ah,
separate. Yes, exactly.
okay, okay. And you know your name, your last name, your first name it looks like Russian, and your last name looks like Irish people. O'Connor, you know, it's a very famous family name, surname.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit first? Tell us a little bit about your background, your I mean,
Hmm.
uh, parents,
Hmm.
and then you tell us about your background in English.
Okay. So actually, it's kind of Lithuanian name because I was born in Lithuania. I'm not Russian. I'm Lithuanian.
Mm.
But there is British name, the same British name, Davina, with Italian roots. Let's say Davina McCall, if you know, very famous
Mhm,
British
mhm,
presenter. So
mhm.
it's kind of the same name. There is Davinia and Davina. In Lithuania, we have this name, and there is one British name like that as well. So I was just lucky to have the same name. But yeah, I was born in Lithuania, and then I married my Irish husband. That's how I ended up in Ireland. But before that, we lived in London. So when we started dating, I moved to London, and yeah, and that's how I became O'Connor. And I've been teaching all my life. I've graduated as an ESL teacher, so my
Mhm.
background is in teaching, master's in education, bachelor's in ESL, and all my life, I won't tell the numbers. I've been teaching. When it comes more than 10, you kind of tend to hide the numbers, do you know? So, do you agree?
All right, all right. So, Divina, you know, I was looking at your beautiful page. You know, you have a wonderful page. I really
Oh, thank
suggest
you.
you to my audience and listeners. Uh, your main focus is actually on pronunciation. Let's say, put a lot of emphasis on variety of, let's say, pronunciations. British, American, mostly,
Yeah, and Irish as well.
and Irish,
Sometimes,
and
yeah.
Irish as well. Okay,
Hmm.
at the very beginning, could you tell us a little bit? You know, we all know the difference between British and American, but could you tell us a little bit? I think Irish is a little bit similar to British. Could you tell me the similarities and differences between Irish and British. By
So,
British, excuse me, by British I mean RP, received pronunciation,
standard. Yeah,
which is considered as the standard English,
yeah, got
BBC
you.
English, let's say.
Yes, Raman, got you. Yeah, so basically, oops, I said my iPods are acting up, and that's what happened. One of them fell out. So, yeah, sorry. So basically, the first thing is that Irish pronunciation is actually like mother of American pronunciation. So there are a lot of similarities, and the
Oh.
original American pronunciation comes from Ireland, basically. All the immigrants brought it to the US. It's changed a little bit, well, not a little bit, but mostly. And now we've got this American, like standard American pronunciation. But frankly speaking, it would be mixture of British and American. Obviously, erotic R is Irish thing. And then, for example, instead of it would be sound. Let's say Monday, must, bus, cup. More or less very similar to pronunciation like in Liverpool, how people in Liverpool speak. I can't obviously generalize because in Ireland it's such a small country, but each county more or less has their own pronunciation. But the standard Irish pronunciation would be like, I can't say 100%, but quite similar to the one in Liverpool. Yes, to Scouse accent, to Scouse and British accent. And very similar to somewhat would be in American. For example, data is in British, but in Irish it's data, like in American. Flat T, we don't pronounce it like D, but we kind of pronounce it like ch more. For example, that we tend to kind of specify this t sound, but it's more like ch. It goes like that and touch and everything, so it's more specific, it's more Irish sound. And yeah, obviously this instead of and yeah, those kind of very big things if we compare. And obviously how we say, because like usually it's like a bit higher pitch. How's it going? How's it going? So it's a bit different intonation.
Okay, that was very informative, Daivina. If you excuse me, I'm gonna actually translate what you've already said, because you know some of our audience are not that good in English. Okay, sorry, I have to switch into Persian. Okay, sorry, just for a moment.
No
I'm gonna translate what you've already talked about. بچه ها خدمتتون عرض کنم که آنچه که خانم دیوینا که ایرلندی هست، ایرلند زندگی میکنه، گفت در مورد تفاوت‌های آیریش انگلیش رو ما میخوایم در مورد مقایسه کنیم با امریکن. میگه تقریبا یه جور میکسچر امریکن هست با بریتیش، با این تفاوت که تمایل بیشتری به سمت امریکن داره. میدونید که اکثر مهاجرینی که تو آمریکا زندگی میکنن در حقیقت ایرلندی هایی بودن که از جور و ظلم حکومت وقت بریتانیا اون موقع اینا مهاجرت کردن، دنبال یک منطقه آزادی میگشتن، امریکا رو پیدا کردن، اونجا سکنا گزیدن و با خودشون لهجه امریکن رو بردن و این میکس شد با اینی که ما الان به عنوان آمریکای مدرن میشناسیم. میدونی که بریتیش در حقیقت RP هست، اون لهجه BBC هست، receive pronunciation هست و این تفاوت. پس ایرلندی خیلی نزدیک به امریکن هست، راتیک هست، آرها رو تلفظ میکنن برخلاف بریتانیایی ها که آر آخرها و بین واول ها رو تلفظ نمیکنن. و یکم اگه بخوایم شهرهای انگلستان رو مقایسه کنیم دیگه تقریبا مثل لیورپولی ها صحبت میکنن، اگرچه لهجه ایرلندی خالص فکر کنم من و شما متوجه نمیشیم. Sorry, Daivina. I want to ask you a question. Once I had a friend, he was from Ireland, and he told me we have dialect and accent. This is the matter of dialect. So if I speak in Irish English, you won't be able to understand what we're talking about. Is that true? For example, if we go to Dublin and we talk to Irish people, is it possible to make head or tail of what they're talking about?
Oh yeah, totally. You see, that's definitely a case. And the funny thing is that even people from different counties, you see, our country is divided into counties, yes? So counties, regions, like districts. Let's say south, it's Cork, where I live, it's second city. I'm not in Dublin, but I'm in Cork, which is the south. How we say the capital, the real capital, because basically it's a rebel city. It's the city which actually made Ireland independent, right? So that's where everything, all the rebellion started, and people of Cork actually pushed all Ireland to go fight for the independence, and that's how we became independent from British. From Cork, everything started. So basically, here in the south, like I know already Southern accent very well, and I understand it. But let's say people in the north and in Northern Ireland, when they speak, like beginning would be like you have like pause, you start to understand what is that, what is the language. But then obviously you pick up. Let's say in the north they say I instead of yes, right? Like in Scotland, the same. So they have similarities with Scottish accent in the north. So for example, in the south, it's specific accent, yes, and people from the south north Midlands, they might not understand each other very well. Let's say my husband's family, some of them are in London, some of them are in Midlands, right? It's not far from Dublin. And for example, how they speak sometimes, I do understand, but sometimes I'm like, honey, what did they say? Can you translate, please? Yeah. But the best thing, how I got to know all the Irish accent, I started working in the call center, an Ireland company. And that's the first thing, like when we were talking about improving your language, it's definitely talking on the phone to native speakers, preferably regional accents. That puts you through so much. You see, like beginning, you don't understand, then you start picking up, then you train your ears, and then you get through. So yeah, but that's totally true. Yeah. And British and Americans, they don't understand Irish accent.
Yeah, really. So that will bring a lot of misunderstanding actually when they're conversing with each other.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Then kind of, yeah. Irish people have to
So
simplify.
you just at the very beginning of this live, you just mentioned that you're originally from Lithuania. And so did you face any, let's say, linguistic barrier or linguistic hindrances when you came to Ireland and you had to talk to Irish people?
You see, my beginning was in London. When I moved to London, that was my beginning when I started visiting my boyfriend. Well, at that time, boyfriend. Now he's obviously husband. And yeah, it was beginning in London. But then when I spent first like 6 months getting to know the differences between language, dialect. I've learned everything about Britain, British accents, but I was always kind of more into British English all my life and British dialects, And then, like, yes, there were some problems, but let's say not so much, like not so many. I can't say it was very difficult. Yes, at work, when I started working in Ireland in the call center, so you see, there were some difficulties, and I came across some misunderstandings. And you see, the funny thing is because when they spell in Ireland, the letter R, R, when they spell, they say or.
Mm.
or. And
Can you give us some examples?
for example, when you say, let's say, a river, they would say or, I-V-E, or. They wouldn't
So
say
so
R-I, they would say or.
so they say river.
Yeah, but when they spell the letter R, they pronounce it like or. And
Ah.
at the beginning, you're kind of, what did they say? Or, what is this letter? Or, you know, when you're on
Ah.
the phone and somebody spells something out for you. So, and it's like, or, what the heck? Or. And then you understand when you start watching Irish TV, you see the national TV is or something, you know, so it's or, it's not letter R, it's or. Yeah, yeah. So that was only problem with spelling, kind of. And they
All
would
right.
say numbers triple instead of triple. Let's say the number 37. Yes, in Britain it would
Mm.
be 777, 777, and Irish would say 777.
Triple. Instead of
Yeah,
triple, say triple.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Just for a moment, I'm gonna let's say interpret what you've already talked about.
Okay.
Uh, sorry for keep interrupting you all
No,
the time.
that's fine. That's fine.
Because because some of my let's say audience are not that proficient in English, and you're just using some technical words. دوستان چیزی خانم دیوینیا یه سری نکاتی رو اشاره کرد. ببینید اولی که ما اگر میخوایم در مورد یک زبان صحبت کنیم، ما باید تفاوت دیالکت که معنی گویش میده، اکسنت لهجه است، و لنگویج که زبان هست رو اینا متوجه بشیم بچه‌ها، چون اینا متفاوتن. دیالکت مثلا، حالا من این مثالی میزنم تو زبان فارسی، مثلا میگیم لهجه گویش گیلکی دیالکت. ببین رایتینگشون، رسم الخطشون یکی هست وقتی که میگیم در بحث گویش پیش میاد، ولی به هر حال واژگانشون متفاوته. لنگویج که کاملا متفاوته، مثلا انگلیش، عربیک، جرمن، اسپانیش، خب اینا لنگویجن. اکسنت هم که میدونید، مثلا یه نفری لهجه شیرازی صحبت میکنه، لهجه بوشهری صحبت میکنه، لهجه اصفهانی صحبت میکنه. In English we have variety of accents. We have Irish English, Scottish English, British English, American English, Jamaican English, Black English. So in order,
yeah.
Australian,
South
exactly,
African.
Australian, African, yeah, exactly. And for those who want to take IELTS, they have to be familiar with a variety of accent. But mostly, the most, let's say, emphasis is put on British English, which is said that according to the Cambridge band scores, band scripters said that about 70% of IELTS is devoted to British English, and 30% goes to American, Irish, Scottish, and Australian. یه نکته دیگه هم گفتن که تفاوت لهجه آیریش با لهجه امریکن اینه که آر رو خیلی به بلند میپیچونن. مثال زد ریور رو میگن ریور، تقریبا شبیه او تلفظ میکنن. You know, it looks like something got stuck in your throat. Say oh, something like this.
Yeah, it's just the name of the letter is different. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. And let's say R would be British R, Americans would say R, and Irish would say or for the letter R.
Okay.
So.
Excuse me, Divina, how do they treat with the T sound? You know, in American, they flicker the T. They say, for example, water, better. You know, sometimes they delete. For example, often instead of often, they say 20, 21, they delete. In British, they pronounce it fully. What about in Irish English? How do they pronounce, how do they deal with the T, especially the T, which is located between two vowels? Or, yes.
Yeah, you see, in Britain as well, if we're talking about Cockney accent in London, so for example, water, it would be water, not water or water. like standard British water, standard American water, and standard like standard Cockney accent, water, you know. In Ireland,
Wow.
in middle one would be something in between d and t. There is no kind of specific difference. No, at the very end, it would sound more like ch. That would be more like this at the end, but in the middle, no, no, there is no specifics that it should be d or t. No, it depends on the person.
Okay, but you know, when we're dealing with consonant clusters at the very beginning of the word, like for example, tree, you know, say it's a tree. It sounds like che, you know, when we're talking about the consonant clusters. So we have it in American. You're talking about this che sound.
It's at the end of the word. For example, the word that. In British, that. In Irish, this t sound at the very end of the word would sound like more like ch. That. It would sound that.
That's
Yeah, it
that's
would be more specific.
so hard.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
but
exactly. You're very good.
that's very kind of. But you know, when you know, there are two words, for example, that should do it, that should do it. You know, te and ye has a che combination sound.
It will be the
Is that
same.
right?
The same, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, but it pronounced the t ending pronounced like che.
Very
Okay.
sound. It sounds for us like this because they kind of specify it like ch, ch. It's more ch than t or d.
Ah,
So
uh-huh,
it's ch.
uh-huh.
And for
Like
example,
my name, you know, like my last name. My last name is Chamacham. It has two che sound. So
exactly,
yeah, it
exactly.
looks like I'm Irish.
And for example, sound the and sound th, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
For example, sound the doesn't exist in Irish. It's d, that, that. And sound th doesn't exist as well. It's t, 30, 30. It's not 30, it's 30.
Uh-huh.
And this 30, they can say 30, 30. So it's like, depends on the original, obviously, place where they are, but mainly, yeah, those things. And one more thing came into my mind now off the top of my head. Letter H, yes, as
Mm-hmm.
well, it's pronounced in Irish H, like letter
Mm-hmm.
R pronounced like or, and letter
Uh-huh.
H is pronounced like H. But when you spell, yeah, when you spell, write down the word hotel, H, blah blah blah, not H. And sometimes when you need to say something on the phone, you know, when you call customer service, and when you say H, it doesn't go
Mm-hmm.
through. You have to say H. Then they say,
Oh,
excuse me, I didn't hear you. Can you say it again? You know, in customer service, when you call and you have this machine that responds and you have to spell something. So, yeah.
okay. So that's great, Divinia. In your teaching methodology, you said that I've been teaching English for how long, Divina? How long have you been teaching English?
Around 20 years.
20 years. Okay, that's very good. So it looks like we're just colleagues. You know, I've been teaching as long as you have been doing it. What is your main focus when you're teaching the beginners and those who want to speak English fluently? Your main focus is on grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation.
You see, it depends. First of all, I find out what are the goals. You see, if we're talking about school children, obviously for them grammar is important because that's what their school is about. You see, they need to learn the grammar, school children. It's one thing, one approach. And if I'm
Okay.
helping them with their homework or we're preparing for like, but I'm talking about primary or middle school, so those guys. if we're talking about adults, it depends. If they want business English, if they want survival English, because I have quite a few whom I'm helping with relocation to London or Ireland, for example. So I need to teach them, let's say, Cockney accent. If they go to London, they need to understand what is what, you know. Why? What? They need to know what it means, you know. And if we're going to Ireland, I give them some Irish slang as well, so that they understand it's like survival if they're moving to a specific country. But if we're talking about general, I would go for natural language, you know, like real life language, which they really would need. If it's not IELTS, obviously, if it's IELTS, TOEFL, state exam, depends. We would go through useful vocabulary for the exam. I always say this is for the exam and this is for life. So depends. But focus would be natural, real language. Yes, grammar is important. I've noticed my Russian students are crazy about grammar. Yeah. They definitely want grammar, and I've noticed in Russia this is big emphasis on grammar. Yeah, if they need, if they want to, of course, why not? We can go over, but still I'd prefer it to be more less grammar translation method, more kind of spoken, more emphasis on usage of, like, not all grammar is important, right? We can write the exam and forget about certain structures. Do you agree with me? But
Okay.
real life,
Totally.
yes.
Totally.
Real life English, that is like what we use every day on everyday basis. Yeah. And how
And
about you?
Nina,
How about you?
okay, well, as you said, I actually partly agree with you. Uh, as you know, pronunciation is an integrable part of language. If the students mispronounces the word, for example, the and were, for example, west and vest, actually the meaning changes completely. Or with a short e, for example, live and leave, you know, of course they're different. You know, if you mispronounce some words, actually you cannot communicate fully, and uh, you know, it will bring about some misunderstanding in English.
Yes.
So yes, that's right, grammar is important, vocabulary is important, and also pronunciation, yes. But as you said, it depends on the level. What level and the purpose, the need, you know, need analysis is very important.
Yeah.
Those students come to me and said, okay, I want to learn English. The first question that I will pose will be, what for?
Yes.
Okay, is this for communication? You want to learn it academically, you know, you want to go to a university, you want to study there, you want to take IELTS. So it depends. Based on the student's needs, I will build up my teaching methodology and syllabus.
Exactly, yeah, totally. And how about in Iran? Which language is more kind of common for students? Are they focused more on American English? For example, my Chinese students, they love American English. Russian
Yes,
students love British English. What would be the focus of people in Iran?
exactly. You know, the main focus is on British English.
Okay.
Excuse me. The most focus would be on American English, because you know, too much advertisements. There are a lot of you know, Hollywood movies, and you know, a lot of American advertisement. Okay, all the students are dealing with American movies and American serials. If you ask a student, okay, name a British serial, I'm sure that he won't or she won't be able to name one British movie or serial. But I'm sure that a lot of the students just can talk
Yeah.
about different American cereals, American
Yeah.
movies. So that will directly affect their
Mm-hmm.
speaking, affect their
Yeah. Yeah.
pronunciation. So that's
Absolutely.
very important. And
Mm-hmm.
also the books which are in the market. You see, there are a lot of textbooks such as American File, Four Corners,
Mm-hmm.
Interchange,
Mm-hmm.
Connect. You know, most of these books are
Okay.
dealing with American English rather than
Mm.
British English.
I
Okay,
see.
so it facilitates learning American for the English learners in
Okay.
Iran.
I see. That's very interesting. Yeah. I actually think maybe nowadays American English is kind of more useful than focusing on this RP pronunciation and RP English. That's why I always say if it's a business person dealing with international people, I would possibly advise them to choose American because I've lived sometimes in Denmark. We just moved back like 3 weeks ago. We had a project. We lived in Denmark, in Scandinavia, for a year, and I came across that people in Scandi countries, they all use American English. It's like when then we went to Holland, to Netherlands, and again people used American English. So I'd say American is possibly, even in Europe, it's more, it's widely spoken, and it's possibly pronunciation wise, vocabulary wise, like idiom wise, collocation wise, I would advise American. But obviously,
Mhm.
those who come to live in Britain, those who might train to for survival English, for relocation, I teach them like British English and everything
Yeah.
about British. Yeah.
And as you know, Divina, especially youngsters and teenagers are more cool and connected when they want to speak American. They feel more comfortable pronouncing the American words and vocabulary and expressions rather than using British structures. And even with the grammar, American are very easygoing with the use of grammar.
Mm-hmm.
Take this tense, for example, present perfect. They use present perfect and simple past interchangeably. For example, they might say, "Well, I've already closed the door," or they can say, "Well, I already closed the door," and it doesn't matter. But when it comes to British, they are very strict with the use of correct tense. For example, they say, okay, you want to use a present perfect, you should use present perfect. And we use a simple past, you should use simple past. So they're very strict. So that's why the tendency, the actually, the flow goes to American.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The
yeah.
easiest, the better.
Totally. And well, and obviously, I'd say the pronunciation, the accent is much easier, and they have only four kind of regional differences. And frankly speaking, I can pick up Southwest, maybe Midwest, maybe West Coast from East Coast, but I still can't distinguish when Canadians speak and Americans. Like I'm ignorant. It's horrible, but I can't distinguish. I always say, "I'm really sorry. Where are you from? Is it Canada or US?" And usually they get offended, but I have to be honest, you know. So yeah, and
Okay.
especially when on holiday you meet people from those countries, then you kind of know the differences after some time. But at the beginning, even my husband, he doesn't distinguish, and we sometimes argue, "What do you think? This person Canadian or American?" We need to think, because their accents are very, very similar. Sorry, all Canadian and American people. I'm really sorry to say that. But yeah, and it's, you see, with tenses, I wouldn't like RP. Yes, all the standard British English is very kind of conservative, but to be honest, when in everyday language, they don't put such emphasis, and they shorten I've and sometimes it sounds like for simple because just they shorten, and very many, like they use, instead of third form, they would use second form. Let's say I was sad, they can say, or something. So in British English, actually, and in Irish English, there are some like grammatical twists, and like real life English is not as complex in reality how the one that we teach from the books. So that's why I wouldn't be so strict on those things. But yeah, obviously it changes the meaning. But as I say, if natives make some mistakes, I always tell my students that this mistake is made even by natives. So natives use this form. Okay, so I always emphasize, is it used by natives or not? If natives use it and if it's considered okay, then I say, okay, it might be not standard English, but that's okay to use in spoken language, for example.
Okay. And the last but not the least, how do you deal with the mispronunciation in your classes? If the students fail to pronounce a word correctly, do you, resort to those mechanical drills, repetition, or you tell them to actually, do you ignore, you overlook the mistakes, or whatsoever? Could you tell us your teaching technique on how to deal with mispronunciations in your classes?
You see, I never brush off anything. I have two approaches. I always ask, first of all, if they are adults, if they are children, I ask parents, what do you want me to do? I discuss. Usually 99% of people, nobody has ever told me not to do that, but if they tell, I will try to do that, but honestly, they never have. So it's correcting straight away. So sometimes I write down mistakes when they speak, and then I advise them all their mistakes. And if it's pronunciation, no, it should be caught straight away. I stop, okay, and drill. 3 times, 5 times, drill. And if it comes up again, stop and drill, because then it raises their awareness. If you brush off things, if you ignore them, then it will keep happening. And especially, okay, if it's something minor, like, all right. But if it's something really changing the meaning, it's really important to correct it straight away. No, I do stop, and I do drill, and I do correct. Yes.
That was very nice talking to you, Daivina, and it was an honor to have you here in my life. Followers, feel free to ask any question that you like, and I'm done with my questions. If you are interested, you can ask questions about Irish English. بچه اگه سوالی در مورد لهجه ایرلندی و حالا گویش ایرلندی دارید میتونید بپرسید. خانم دیوینیا یک تیچر هست، 20 سال تدریس کرده تو بریتانیا و ایرلند. اگه سوالی هست بپرسید، اگر هم نیست مزاحم خانم دیوینیا نمیشیم و خداحافظی میکنیم باش. Miss Daivina, I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate
my
accepting my invitation. I won't take your time, and take care.
Thanks a million. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all of you guys who were present. Ask any questions, and we can record answers in our stories. And yeah, so thanks a million, guys. It was lovely to be with you, and keep in touch. Bye for now.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Take care. Okay.